Hello Challenge A students. I'm here to help you get your map to scale. So far you've drawn all the continents individually, but it's a skill to get them back on the map all together and to scale. So I came up with this sort of dot method to help you get it to scale and to make it easier for you to draw the whole world. So here we go, ready? The first thing we do is we find the equator, and I just know that the equator is more than halfway down the paper, so it doesn't really matter as long as you get the equator on there, and that's your reference point for the whole thing. So the equator runs through South America and Africa and Indonesia and Malaysia, and so I sort of make a mental note that that half of the world has to be down there. So the first thing that we do is from the edge of our paper, and first of all I'm going to use three tools with my hands. The first is my finger length. Okay, so if I say finger length, this is what I mean by a finger length. If I say a nail length, it's about this much. And if I say a hand length, it's my middle finger to the tip of my thumb, not my tongue. Okay, so here we go. So we have our equator. This is the edge of our paper, and I know if I make a hand length here, this is the western side of South America. Okay, and here's my equator again, and I know it's a half a finger length to the tip of South America. And again, this doesn't have to be exact. It's just a scaling tool to help you get it on your board correctly. Okay, so now I have this and this, and so I want to make the edge of South America. People tend to make South America too small. It's actually a pretty decent sized continent. It's about a little smaller than Africa. So, and if you look at your hand, if you take your hand, you can put your hand over South America, but look if you put your hand over North America. Like, it's almost the same size and people don't really realize that. So, hand length from the tip to the bottom of South America, and there we go, we have 4 dots. We can easily draw South America very quickly. Okay, so next we want to get North America on here, and the way I do that is I go from here to about the tip of here. This gives me the tip of Quebec. Okay, and from here I can do a hand length, and I just kind of go in a diagonal and make the tip of my thumb the tip of my finger. This is the tip of Alaska. Okay. So now I have 2 pretty good reference points, and the other thing that people really have a hard time with is Greenland. It's actually very large. If you took your hand here, it's over South America, and also, again, if you put it over here, it's barely covering Greenland, so it's much bigger than people think. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a finger length from the tip of Quebec. This is the tip of Greenland here, and that's helpful to really get Greenland to scale. And so if I take my hand length again, and if I do my tip of Alaska to here, if I stretch it just a tad bit, then I get this tip right here of Greenland. And then I like to do this finger length here. This gives me a good idea of the bottom portion of Greenland. And then if I did my hand length here to here, this gives me the top of Greenland. So there you go, you have 4 dots easily for the tip of Greenland. Now here, I don't really do much here. People tend to practice North America quite a bit, and I don't really usually have problems with it. The only thing I would suggest is from here to here, and then you kind of know where Mexico starts. So that's just a tip. That's really all I do for North America. If you come up with extra dots just to help you, that would be great. So the next thing I do is from this dot, I do a half a finger length. This gives me where I know is Iceland, and I just usually draw a circle. Okay, so I've gotten this so far. My next thing I typically do is a finger length from the eastern side of Greenland all the way to here. This gives me the sort of tip of Norway. Remember, NSF funds, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. Okay, so this gives me this, and if I do another finger length here, this gives me the tip of Finland. Okay, so I know those, and people tend to really have a hard time with Europe too. It's very small in comparison to Greenland or South America or Africa, so they tend to sort of blow this up, but it's not really to scale. The next tip I can tell you is that I sort of go down the map here. So this is another finger length. This gives me this part of Africa. And Africa is great because it's really finger length. So from here to here, this gives me my western side. From here to here, this gives me the tip of Somalia. And then if I do another hand length, this gives me the Horn of Africa. Okay, so I've got 4 dots for Africa. I can easily draw it very simply and get it labeled. Okay, so here, if you need this tool, this is sort of helpful. If I put a finger length here, this gives me the tip of Portugal. And then if I also do another finger length here, okay, this gives me this bottom part of Euro-Russia, sort of. So just kind of keep that in mind. The other thing I typically do is if I do my dot from here to here, this gives me the tip of India. Okay, and then from the tip of India, I can do a couple different things to help me with Asia. If I do another hand length from here to here, this gets me to South Korea. Okay, and then if I turn it again, this gives me the bottom of Australia here. Okay. Just go back to the top here, and I want you just to notice these lines. You have a dot here, a dot here, a dot here, a dot here. And if you really just went across the page like this, okay, you almost have a straight line. And if you think about the straight line, and you think about, okay, this part of Russia, you could easily draw in last, and nobody's gonna think anything of your map. So if you just quickly did this, it's actually interesting if you blew this up and you turned it, it actually looks a lot like this part of Antarctica, just smaller. So anyway, this is here, and I know if I do another hand length here, this gives me this other tip of Russia. And that's pretty much it. I can do another hand length here. This gives me the other bottom part of Australia, and a finger length from this bottom part of Australia to this tip of Australia. So now I have a good amount of dots everywhere, and I know pretty much where all the continents should be and about their size. So it's not about drawing it perfectly and getting all those little nook and crannies. Really getting it to scale is more of a skill than getting all the nook and crannies in there. So try to concentrate less on the detail and getting more of it to scale. I hope this helps, and of course call me with any questions, and remember to try to get features on each continent and not just concentrate on North America, which we know. Try to get a good even amount of features because it'll look really nice on your map in class. So remember to come with your drawn map to class, signed by your parents, and I will see you on Tuesday.